That was Billy Mills at the 1964 Olympics. The Oglala Lakota remains the only American to ever win the 10,000 meters. We'll meet Mills later in the show. Welcome to the ICT Newscast. I'm Shirley Snavy. Behind the celebration of Dia de los Muertos are Indigenous traditions that trace back to Mesoamerica. ICT's Daniel Herrera Carbajal shares that history and his own connection to it.
If you grew up anywhere in the Southwest or in Mexico, you've definitely seen calaveras, skulls, and ofrendas, altars that honor one's loved ones. But what do they mean? Well, they're symbols of Dia de los Muertos, a holiday with roots in Mexico that's celebrated in much of Latin America and the U.S. Being a Mexican American, I was always surrounded by this holiday, and while my close family doesn't observe it, it was impossible not to be around it in a largely Mexican community. I would go over to friends' houses and see the ofrendas they made for their loved ones, and we even decorated calaveras at my elementary school. But what many people might not be aware of is that this holiday has its origins in Mesoamerica. It emerged from a Mexica ritual known as Micahuitil. The Mexica believed that after death, a person traveled through 9 challenges to reach Mictlan, the final resting place. During the festival, families would provide food, water, and tools to help their loved ones on this journey. With the Spanish arrival in the 16th century, the Catholic Church moved indigenous celebrations and rituals honoring the dead throughout the year to the Catholic dates commemorating All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day on November 1st and 2nd. In what became known as Dia de los Muertos on November 2nd, the Latin American indigenous traditions and symbols to honor their dead fused with non-official Catholic practices and notions of an afterlife. For ICT, Daniel Herrera Carbajal.
Thunder Valley is based in Porcupine, South Dakota, home of the Oglala Lakota. I caught up with Executive Director Lynn Cooney to ask about this organization and how it changes lives.
Oyate Weyokiawi Imachiapie. My Lakota name is She Helps Her People, and my English name is Lynn Cooney.
Well, that's appropriate because in your position, you really do help people.
I do.
So Thunder Valley's been around for a little bit now, and you guys have been doing amazing work. Would you like to tell our audiences some of the highlights?
Sure. So Thunder Valley CDC is located on the Pine Ridge Reservation, specifically in the Porcupine District. We envision a liberated Lakota nation through language, lifeways, and spirituality. And our mission here is empowering Lakota youth and families to improve the health, culture, and environment of our communities through the healing and strengthening of our cultural identity. We're really focused on healing here at Thunder Valley, working towards that liberation. And so a good fit is, of course, our own people who are also working on healing within themselves, within their families, really have a buy-in to that community and that kinship of our lifeways. This is a drug and alcohol-free community, violence-free. We want to make sure that those kinship systems are in place so that this is a place where people want their families to grow. This isn't just something here for now. We want to make sure that this is here for generations and generations to come. And of course, to Lakota people, community wealth means something different, right? It's about having a legacy for your family that makes sense for the way that we live and the way that we perceive the world.
So tell me specifically about the workforce development piece and what that looks like.
We usually have a cohort of 10 participants. Workforce development is focused on our young adults, so age 18 to 26. And maybe they don't have a specific career path. Maybe they haven't decided on college. Maybe they haven't decided on a trade, those types of things, but they would be a perfect fit for our workforce development. And so we know that unemployment rates are high on the reservation, but what we're creating, our model here, addresses both like the technical and the non-technical challenges of employment. So we've created a 6-month experience. And in our experience, the cohort members are going to gain practice with various aspects of bison herd management, rotational grazing methods, land restoration techniques, along with cultural teachings and really emphasizing the cultural significance of our Tatanka Oyate, our Buffalo Nation, and of course, leadership development. And then participants also receive wraparound support that includes soft skill development, mental health services, mentorship, and all of this is really rooted in Lakota values. And so, what really makes this approach distinctive is our emphasis on whole person development, integrating physical, emotional, and spiritual components of readiness, that really reflects that holistic nature of Lakota lifeways so that they're ready as a whole being to be into the workforce, to be that person in their family who has that responsibility to be a good employee and to create that pathway of what they want to do in life. We're just in our first year of our Buffalo project, and so we have secured a 40,000 acre lease. It's one of the biggest ones with the Oglala Sioux tribe, and we can have up to 400 head of buffalo on that lease. So right now we're in the infrastructure phase, and for the past year, it's been actually really beautiful because we know that the land is also our relative. And so part of this bison project is really healing the buffalo, but also healing the land. And then, of course, our spiritual connection to the land and to the buffalo. So we've done those protocols spiritually of what we need to do to prepare to ask our relatives, the Buffalo Nation, to come back.
Well, thanks for joining us on the ICT Newscast.
Uh-huh. Opila.
Chi Escalingwat. Chi Escalingwat. I'm happy-minded. I'm happy-minded. Chi Escalingwat. Chi Escalingwat. I'm happy-minded. I'm happy-minded.
From Standing Rock to the ballot box, Allison Renville of the Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate is running for South Dakota governor. She spoke with ICT's Amelia Schaefer about the issues driving her campaign.
I think I moved here with the intention of getting involved politically. Was not anticipating as much involvement as I had, but it's really welcome, and it's allowed me to learn so much about the city from so many different directions, and I really feel well informed making this decision to run for governor.
And what do you think sets you apart from your opponents?
I honestly, I don't think I'm disillusioned by party politics anymore. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders in 2016. I watched, what that election did to not just the Democratic Party, but to, the psyche of America, and then went from there into Standing Rock. And then I started building my political action committee. My trek kind of accidentally goes back to 2016 when we took on the Dakota Access Pipeline. There was an incident where a recording came out and it said, take it up to the next person. And the next person in line was the governor's office. And so back then I'm like, okay, well, one day I might have to run for governor. If it's who is in control of not just law enforcement, but in control of the response to some of the civic engagement actions that we've been taking.
And so what are some of the policies or things that are important to you that you would want to emphasize if elected?
Oh, wow. Right now, I think education is really important. There's so much that we're missing with educating not just our kids, but, as they grow, on how to be a decent human being. I think that starts with the proper introduction to South Dakota history, to Native American history, but also to, the history of Southern colonialism. I think there's a lot to heal from. I think that there's a lot to learn from, but also a lot to grow. There's a lot of people out there who are, I think, seeing themselves as decent human beings over political party.
And what are some of the issues that you think are most pressing right now in South Dakota? I see you have a MMIW medallion on.
Oh yeah, and I think we're beyond the awareness part of the MMIW phase. We're on to action. Some of the things that I really have been working hard on here in Sioux Falls specifically is looking at the cause and effect of everything. Are these women, do they have access to health care? What does it look like for them for family planning? We don't have abortion access in South Dakota. What happens to girls who are, or women, or even men who are being attacked in these situations? Where do they go? We have a great healthcare system here in Sioux Falls, but how are we challenging the healthcare systems to put back into the community so people who aren't on Medicaid or people who aren't able to afford coverage are being able to still be taken care of? Part of the reason why I thought stepping forward this time was so important was because we don't know what our democracy is going to look like in the next 2 to 4 years, with everything coming down from not just this administration, but from, like the state level and stuff. Rules and laws almost don't exist anymore, and so it's like, how are we going to sustain not just our lifestyle, but sustain our state for that matter? It's going to be a huge learning experience, and I really like sharing it with people. I mean, I've experienced it before, but I think bringing more people in and getting others to run as well is really going to give us a collective impact here in the state.
And thank you for joining me on the ICT Newscast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
A summer program for girls in Minnesota brought microphones, drums, and guitars front and center. Our partners at PBS NewsHour share this report.
The sound of drums, guitars, and keys drift from a building on the east side of St. Paul, Minnesota. But peek inside and you'll see this is no ordinary garage band. This is Rock the Res, a summer camp for Indigenous girls and gender-diverse kids.
We want them to feel strong and let them know that they have a voice. We'll get the snare going and then we'll get the hi-hat going.
April Matson, who is Sachangu Lakota and Athabaskan, has been the executive director here since 2019.
Indigenous, Two-Spirit, LGBTQ girls, they're so overlooked and representation is low to none. And so this is our way of helping them to take up space, and hopefully they take that courage and they put it into everything that they do.
10 campers from around the Twin Cities attended the session we visited in August.
Could you hear yourself better?
Maureen O'Brien was teaching kindergarten on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota when she came up with the idea to start the camp in 2016.
Music really wasn't like an extracurricular, very much, at least at the school that I was at. So music wasn't as accessible.
O'Brien, a self-taught musician, also wanted to promote the idea that anyone can pick up an instrument and jam.
So it's kind of like breaking down the third wall of, you can't do this, maybe you don't see folks that look like you, or you're not trained classically. I liked that.
There are now 5 Rock the Res camps, including 3 new camps in Minnesota that launched this summer. The program is free of charge thanks to grants and donations, and the band coaches are mostly volunteers.
Most of the campers who come in have no music experience, or they've played another instrument, but they've never played this instrument.
The campers we met formed 2 bands and spent a few hours each day learning the instruments and parts they chose, working up to a public concert at the end of the week.
Well, it's a little bit scary, but it's more fun, actually.
Raina Spears, who is Ojibwe in Dakota, was the lead singer of the younger band, which called itself Little Rockers with Spirit.
I just get sometimes too excited that I try to go really fast, but I know I have to follow the other instruments and they have to follow me too.
Spears wrote the lyrics for her band song.
Gotta write how I get into the light, and what I mean by that is gotta write how I get courage. So you can show who you really are.
3, 4. We're kind of fighting for our voices to be heard and for a change.
Aaliyah Hansen, who is Red Lake Ojibwe, led her band called Kamimila, which means butterfly in Dakota. Their song was filled with historical and social messages.
This is where it started. We are taken from our homes. When we come back, we have nowhere to go. Frame us as addicts, blame us and laugh, but when the white man leaves, you better hope he don't come back. I think it's very powerful and it goes very deep into Native culture.
I wrote some things down.
The songs were written collaboratively by the campers. The band coaches encouraged and facilitated, but otherwise got out of the way.
We all are seen equally and we're all respected. I'm an introvert, so it's hard speaking up, but here, I'm pretty loud here. And I like that I get to actually interact with people and not feel afraid.
This is the only urban Rock the Res camp. The others are held on or near reservations. So some of these campers come from communities where there aren't a lot of other Native kids.
At school, I just feel kind of left out on my culture. So here, I feel like I belong more.
When people think of Native, they think of those old photos that are yellow and wearing, and it's some chief guy. But we're not that anymore. We're still here, you know.
Workshops held each day, like this Dakota language lesson, gave the kids a chance to dive deeper into Indigenous cultures. And there were musical performances every day after lunch. Lakota recording artist Tiana Spotted Thunder sang the day we were there.
Showcase your skills. Showcase your talent.
Then, after a week of pep talks and practicing, the final day arrived. The campers got themselves and each other all glammed up and headed to a park down the street to perform the final showcase for their friends, family, and community.
Welcome to the Rock the Res Showcase.
The name of our song is Singing to Our Hearts.
Empowerment's a huge part of it. I hope that they are proud of themselves and feel accomplished by the end of it, because it's a pretty big feat to write a song and perform it in a matter of 1 week.
Being lost in history. Being cheated of our treaties.
And if anything, they can look back and say, oh, I performed in front of a bunch of people, because it can be really scary, but they are being so brave.
Thank you for coming.
Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong. Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong. Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong.
I caught up with Annette Pember to talk about her new book, Medicine River. In this book, she examines her family's boarding school experience, connecting historical trauma, research, and the path to understanding. Take a look. My colleague, Annette Pember, has taken a minute to join me and talk about your road trip. And I actually ran into you in Spearfish, South Dakota, at the South Dakota Book Festival, which was just awesome to see you in person after Zooming with you for...
I know, right?
And I did go to your talk, and I bought the book, and I finally read it. And I interviewed you right after the book was done, and didn't really know what was in it, but bravo. Oh. What a beautiful book. Thank you very much for writing that.
Uju Gakanoya, Baba Monoklik, and Jabar, Mom, and Dudem. I like to speak a little Ojibwe when I can, especially in front of groups, and it's something my mother would have been so proud of and never could have dreamt in a million years. That in front of such a fine group of people that people would be allowed to speak Ojibwe, so I always did that to honor her a little bit. I wanted to just
What did you find out that surprised you?
There's a lot of violence in our communities, and I don't know if that really, unfortunately, it didn't surprise me, but, you know, I just stumbled on this event that people were having in Eagle Butte on the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe reservation there, and it wasn't really tied to, like, you know, what we think of as the MMIP month or anything, but just that there have been so many losses, and people really felt like they wanted to offer, you know, families and so on in the community some sort of recognition and healing. And so they had, you know, they had an event, they had a bunch of red dresses that they had put up, And what I thought was really poignant was that the people that were organizing it said they ran out of material to represent all the dresses. And they also did for men too. They didn't, it wasn't just women that they recognized, but there were also a lot of young people. And I suspect some of them, passed away because of suicide and so on. But over this past summer, they had a lot of loss. And I think the community is just really grieving.
Let's turn and talk a little bit about your book that was out this spring, Medicine River. It's an account of your family's experience in boarding schools and how that impacted, frankly, generations of your people.
My mom and her relatives ended up having to go to the sister school. Some people were able to do, they were day scholars and they were able to go home. And I think even though those folks were really poor, of course, they still got that family connection, which was so important. But my mom, there was no place to go, so they had to live there. They had to board there. And it was a very shameful experience for her. I think, she kind of blamed herself. And I think kids do that. The incentive to motivation to write Medicine River was I began looking into that. Why is my family, why do we have so many isms? Why do we struggle so much? And I really wanted to understand that. And so I just started, and you know how I am, I get obsessed with stuff. So I started just going down these, kind of rat holes of various things like historical trauma and the impact on us when when really, really bad things happened to our parents. And for a long, especially over a long period of time, it tends to have a formative impact on their brains and on their behavior. So not surprisingly. And of course, then subsequently on how they raise their kids. To me, I stopped being quite so angry at my mom. And, being angry at somebody takes a lot of energy. At least it did for me. And so being kind of relieved of that, I have found to be really a blessing in my life.
A lot of people will find the depth of research that you did to put this book together very helpful.
Well, thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, it does reflect a lot of work, and I thought that was really important. I remember early on when I was going to university, I actually took a class from this woman named who kind of Gerta Lerner. She kind of founded women's history as a real science as a discipline. And one of the things she told us, she was really, really hard. She was really hard on us, very strict. And she said, if you're coming up with sort of new scholarship, or a new discipline, you better be sure you have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed. It's very important. Otherwise, you can so easily be dismissed by the academy and by others. And I suppose I can still be dismissed. It's always possible. But, I think it is important that we this is not something we've made up out of whole cloth. These are not just the experiences of a few people. There is some science behind this and some research behind it. And of course, my great hope is that people will go on that they will use, the resources that I share in Medicine River to do more research, because there's so much yet to be done.
Thank you, Mary Annette, for joining me on the ICT Newscast.
Well, as always, thanks for having me, Shirley.
More than 50 years after his Olympic gold, Oglala Lakota athlete Billy Mills continues to inspire all generations with his new children's book, Wings of an Eagle, The Gold Medal Dreams of Billy Mills. It was a packed house at the South Dakota Book Festival. Billy Mills was back in his home state with a new book for children, co-written by Donna Janelle Bowman and illustrated by S.D. Nelson, a citizen of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I asked him what the highlight of his trip was.
I think the highlight is just the opportunity as a Lakota to come back. And I met some young people yesterday and today that truly are taking our ancestors' comments of it'll take 7 generations to heal. And I met 7th generation Lakota youth who will take our culture, our traditions, our spirituality, along with their dream into the horizon of America to help correct the flaws and improve our democratic experiment.
The Olympic athlete is hopeful.
It's difficult to say what I'm going to, but it needs to be said. Our 3rd graders are far behind the average American in reading. And at the high school level, I have many, many schools telling me our high school students are way behind in reading, and yet locked up within them is a resilience and a brilliance that needs to be heard. So just being able to play a little part with S.D. Nelson, Donna Janelle Bowman, with Wings of an Eagle, Gold Medal Dream of Billy Mills. I feel like as an elder, 87 years of age, that I can still make a difference. And I believe in our youth. It's not in ignorance. It's challenges they faced early in life. And we start correcting that. We've already seen our youth where they've corrected the reading concept and they caught up. And the brilliance and the resilience they bring to America.
From Lakota Oyate homelands, I'm Shirley Snavy for ICT. And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.